The Gnomes, or Bromeliad Trilogy by Terry Pratchett, is a three-book trilogy of truckers, diggers, and wings, which follows little gnome-like creatures, which are not fantasy gnomes, but alien gnomes, little 4-inch creatures that are living in a very recognizably modern England, where they are trying to find a home for themselves. Throughout the course of the we first start out with this band of gnomes that is living a very kind of hand to mouth, rapidly depleting existence in a grassy verge off of a motorway, where they basically have to find somewhere else to live, or they're going to be kind of become extinct. The last of the younger gnomes, Masculine, leads them out with the help of Grima, a fellow gnome, they hop a truck and end up at the store, which was established by the Arnold brothers, 1905, where the store gnomes who only live like about 10 years. That is like a full lifetime for a gnome. But they live very quickly, and indeed they blur along from human beings. It's like that's all you would see if you even saw that, as a very slow moving kind of human being creature, which is why we haven't discovered them. But these store gnomes have created their entire universe is this department store, which they believe, of course, as any reasoning creature would, who finds himself in a world, is like, this has obviously been created for me. And yes, there's these slow moving human being creatures, but they're just, little side effects, and they're not really, they can't be intelligent or anything like that. And it's got a very much of a hierarchy system. Now, the outside gnomes have this little artifact, this cube, which they've had for generation upon generation upon generation, which, when brought into contact with the electricity of the store, suddenly comes to life and lets especially Masculine know, hey, you guys are aliens. You guys have come from another planet. There's a ship out there that if you can get me up out of the atmosphere, I can get you to your actual home. Now, the other thing that the thing is very good at doing is listening to phone lines and to the very dumb computers of 1990, and discovering that, the store is actually going out of business and is going to get bulldozed in about 4 weeks' time. So Masculine and his group have the very difficult task of trying to uproot all these gnomes, explode their universe, have a Copernican revolution that no, the world does not revolve around you, that the store is not everything, and that you need to leave because it's all about to be destroyed, bulldozed. That's basically kind of the course of the first novel, Truckers, which really does kind of give you Terry Pratchett, very much kind of a worldview, which is scientific, probably atheistic, but also very much, hey, why is this the way it is? And should we actually accept everything as the way it is? And should we not, in maybe a scientific model, or just sort of a sharp mind way, question, why are things the way they are? Could they be better? This gnomish society in the store they have access to books, but they don't believe that females should actually read books because it'll overheat their brains. And I can really see that Terry Pratchett has dug into kind of the old misogyny of human beings, and it's like that sounds like something that was probably applied to females back in the day, of like, don't let females read too much, it'll affect their uteruses. Stuff like that is very much slipped within these novels. Now, that is the first book, and the first book is one storyline. What happens in the next two books is that it's branching off storylines. In Diggers, the whole group makes it to a quarry, where they settle, and they're actually just across from an airport. And Masculine realizes we need to figure out our existence is never going to be certain. The thing has told them there's a spaceship up there that they can summon, and it will take them to an actual home, a place that's actually for gnomes, not this world which is infested by humans. They still can't really conceive exactly how gigantic just the Earth is. So Matt Maskelyne and his group go off in wings to actually travel to the airport, take a Concorde off to Florida to where there's a spaceship where the grandson of one of the Arnold brothers is involved in launching a communication satellite up into the up into into Earth orbit. And that is, and if I can get up there, I'd be able to get a spaceship. Meanwhile, back in this book, happening at the same time, Grima is confronted with trying to get the gnomes to say, "Oh, we were setting up shop in this quarry, but it turns out this quarry is not an abandoned quarry and is going to be reopened soon, and that is going to be very bad for the gnomes that are there that we need to move." She's confronted with basically kind of the rise of a religious extremist group, which are, very much kind of like thinking, no, we trust in Arnold Brothers, established 1905. They will save us. They will protect us. We don't have to actually think we're going to be wedded. We're going to be wedded to these, to our old ideas. We're not going to be moved, even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Always one of these unfortunately a timely theme in any era, especially all eras of people just clinging to outmoded ideas because that is the way it's always been, and these books being a thing about that. So this book ends with the end of this book, which gets us on to Wings, where Wings is, I found this the hardest book to read, the one that took me the longest to read, just because I got to I know how it was going to end because I'd read the end of, let's see if I can get it, I'd gone to the end of Diggers, which sort of has the ending of this book in it, which sort of took the steam out of this book, of splitting the two storylines versus kind of just intermingling them together, intercutting between them, kind of cut out a lot of the urgency I felt that maybe I would have had just of the adventure story, because I feel like in some ways that the first novel, with the idea of the store and of trying to pry people away from their beliefs of being like, we are such limited creatures who only have a small sliver of a view of the universe, and that we create whole belief systems out of that very small view, and how skewed that can be. That was like the big thing with the first novel. And then the two other novels are a bit more just sort of the adventure and like, oh, how are we going to get the gnomes to get to safety? And I think that would have been much better served if they'd been kind of interconnected together. That said, I really enjoyed this book, especially at the very end, where we have a gnome called Girder, who becomes the abbot of the store gnomes, which is very much like, oh, this is somebody who's like kind of the religious leader who is like, I have believed that the Arnold brothers, established 1905, created this universe for gnomes, and it's sort of a higher power. And he's had all these beliefs kind of knocked down. And indeed, he has that beliefs knocked down, and he's like, okay, well, now I'm out here, and I'm going to kind of believe, okay, I'm in the world here, and it's like, okay, that is everything. But then we get the further opening up of just sort of the universe, and he has this just sort of very human moment where he breaks down and he cries, and Girder turned away. I'm sorry, he muttered. It's just that there's so much changing. Why can't things stay the same for 5 minutes? Every time I get the hang of an idea, it suddenly turns into something different, and I turn into a fool. All I want is something real to believe in. Where's the harm in that? Which is kind of one of those really little beautiful things that that Terry Pratchett puts in this book, because I think kind of the cliched idea of an atheist is someone who kind of harangues people and says, wake up, you smell the coffee, you're fooling yourself, you're being sheep. It's like, no, this is like Pratchett actually kind of has kind of the human thing of having this character go like, why can't I just, I keep on getting turned into a fool because everything keeps on changing. I can kind of like, and in that I can like identify with this little gnomish abbot going, it's like, everything, every couple of weeks or years, I have to readjust my ideas on race, on gender, on sexuality, on just like, how I operate in the world. It really is that kind of thing of like, what's the harm in, what's the harm in just believing in something? And I mean, I think this book does a good job of showing you, sometimes if you cling on to these beliefs, you can get crushed because you refuse to move. And it just like, it's kind of like, I really, really appreciate Pratchett putting a character like that into the book, of someone going like, I don't want to be a fool, but it's like, there's sort of a very gently, it's like, yeah, I feel you, buddy, but in the end, it's better to sort of embrace being a fool and to change, and to kind of adapt in this world. And I see other people in this world who get so threatened by when some other group says, hi, we exist and we'd like rights too, and have you considered us? And people get so threatened and so angry about stuff like that. And you can't help to think that like that is somebody like the abbot. That's something like a little bit of some of my own inclinations of where you kind of go, man, I'm wrong again. I'm wrong again. And it's like, I think it's one of these things of having to embrace being wrong, embrace going, don't get so attached. Don't take this as holy writ. You've got to kind of accept and be open and realize that there's there's always going to be more. That is kind of the hopeful message, I think, of a book like the books like this series. And so while I feel like, I wish these two books were kind of just intermingled and just combined with this into one volume, one story, so you could have the good idea and you could have the adventure story kind of all combined together. I think it's structurally flawed, but I still think it is. It's actually a gentle atheist kind of fable here, of gently saying, we're tiny people in a gigantic universe, and we're fools, and Lord love us. Oh, you sort of gotta embrace that and be kind to ourselves with that. To be kind to yourself and others, as one of my favorite booktubers might say. All right, more videos later.